Hey, this is Sean from Team Plus, and I decided it was time to introduce you to a project that we've got going on the side. So we have begun a project to build what will be the Team Plus race car. What have we got? Well, a BMW M3 F80. This one is the donor car for most of the electronics. So it was time to turn this one into part of the puzzle for our new track car and demo dolly. This car starts and runs. It doesn't have any exhaust, so it runs very loudly, but it has all the mechanical and all the electronic components that we need. We also have a second chassis, which is the target for the final resulting car. So today's the first day of doing some work on this from a point of view of bringing these two cars together. And the aim today is to start with electrical here at the back of this device. Obviously this car is already destroyed in the back end, but all of these electrical components down here are functional. They're not all intact. Some of the casings have been broken on some of these things, so they may need replacing as we go. But the idea today is to start pulling the wiring out of this guy and prepare it and pull it forward into the car so that we can work on moving that across over time. Okay, let's get started. First plan is to remove these damaged elements here. The battery's still in there, it's damaged casing. One of the modules is broken, this casing here, but still seems to actually work. So the idea will be to try and remove all this section. Pulling apart this back corner here, we can really see some of the damage that have been done. Modules like this power module here are badly damaged, and there's entire pieces and sections that are missing, and we're clearly going to have to replace a lot more than I originally thought. Okay, so we've made a little bit of progress in the last hour or so. This module here is badly damaged, as is one of the subsidiary wiring looms from that. We can see there's some cut wires as part of that. Now it may well be quite repairable, depends on what I can get at a decent price for a replacement. Power distribution module here is also pretty much destroyed. It was sitting on the side. It's not too bad, but it is broken at the back, and given that that's the main distribution point for 12 volts, I think that's worth replacing. Most other things are now free and loose in here. The modules that are removed from here, some of them need the brackets straightening out a little bit, and they're now in the other car and ready to go. And all of these other connectors and cables look like they're okay. There's still two strings running off here of wire, so we're heading one behind the bumper, which is the next job, and one heading down under the car into the underside we'll have to look at as well. Well, we're a couple of days later now, and I've completed this first step. We can see now the entire back boot area, really up to the C-pillar, in fact up to the fuel tank, is all been removed, all of the wiring. So all of that, there was a few tricky bits. Some wires went underneath the car on both sides, and down there's a couple that'll need to be moved when the chassis, when the sub-assemblies are taken off to go up to the front. But the rest of them were plugged into the back of the diff, front and back, and a few other of the sensors underneath in the suspension area, and controllers underneath. There were a couple of controllers up in the C-pillars that are all up, and all the ones that were on the back parcel shelf have all been moved across to the other car. And we've got to a point where all of the back half of the car's wiring loom is all sitting in here, all with various labels on them, pointing out all these blue labels that point to the different directions that it goes. So the plan is now start moving on the front. So I've taken the center console out just now, starting to remove the carpet in the front, and then get exposure to those, look for the ends of all these wires and start pulling it back. The idea being that the front will end up sitting down in, half of the loom will sit down in here, the rear half is sitting back here, and then we'll get some help and we'll move it across to the other car. Hey, well, it's New Year's Day 2025, and we've made some good progress on this car. So let me show you where we're up to. Within the next week, we're expecting both these cars to head off to the CHE racing workshop to get the major subframes moved across. And then after that point we'll have one car, but we continue to pull apart little pieces inside this one. So let's see where we're up to. And last time we had started removing the wiring from here. We had the back half done. We have now managed to get the front half wiring released and all of the pieces in the engine bay. I have left the heater box heating air conditioning unit inside this car, not planning to use it. So the biggest challenge came with getting this wiring released, particularly this section that was underneath against the firewall underneath that heater box, getting that all released. I'm about to bundle it all up with some cable ties to hold it into its different sections, and then grab some family members and move it all across. In the meantime, the other car, we had to remove a lot of the areas around accessories around the firewall on the first one, so we've been sort of tentatively placing them loosely in place in the new car here. The biggest challenge in the other car was removal of this bolt, which is here in the other car. Is pretty much impossible to get to while the engine is there, but after removing all of these pieces, we're able to get it out. And that released the bar, so I could jiggle the heater box around enough to get that going. And here's the inside of the good car. Okay, good news. After a few hours, we've managed to get it all moved over. Bit of family help. All of that wiring loom is now out of the damaged car. Everything. The only things left in here really are a few bits I'll still move over later on. And the bits in the dash that I'm not using, and some doors and so on, which will move after we've moved all the main subframes across. The other car now has the wiring loom sitting down in there, and the next job over the next few days is going to be putting them back into clipping them all back into their right spots. So just a few days later, and both cars are ready to be shipped off to CHE, Colin Hill Engineering, to get the major subcomponents moved across. So they're loaded on the two trucks. First one onto first truck. The second one sitting on some homemade dollies was a bit more challenging, but it's up and ready to go. Keep an eye out on our socials pages for the second part of this journey.